Okay, let's jump right into the pulse of the Nepali stock market. We're looking at our Nepal stock today, May 13th, 2025.
Yeah, and that daily discussion thread is buzzing like usual.
Totally. People throwing around tickers, what to buy, what to sell, what they're watching, just like constant energy.
Absolutely. And hidden in all that noise, there are some really key insights. That's what we're doing in this deep dive, right? Sifting through.
Exactly. We're looking at today's chatter, but also pulling in some related threads, things like daily trading tactics, those odd lot share.
Yeah, the classic TMS Meroshare glitches, always a hot topic.
Right. We've also got stuff on beginner advice, the whole SIP debate, learning from, other people's wins and losses.
So, okay, just to map it out for you listening,
Yeah.
we've got the main daily thread. Naturally, then there's one on early investment ideas.
Oh, yeah, aimed at younger folks.
Yeah,
And a question on GTC, GTD order priority. Always good to understand that.
definitely. Then someone asking about selling a pretty large block of shares.
How large are we talking?
5,000 kita, apparently. We'll get into whether that's actually large.
Okay. Plus, changing account types. A couple of portfolio reviews, some direct feedback there.
Uh-huh. And that relatable thread, the one stock you regret selling.
Yeah,
We've all been there.
haven't we just? And even a deep dive into TMS order matching logic. So quite a mix.
It really is. And for you, the listener, whether you're deep in the daily trades or just, dipping your toes in the Nepal market,
We're going to try and pull out the really useful stuff. Actionable knowledge, less jargon. That's the plan.
that's the goal. And a few themes kept popping up, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. Those technical hiccups, TMS, Meroshare, they seem pretty common.
Very common. We saw solid advice for newcomers, too.
Yeah.
And that ongoing discussion about SIPs,
Yeah.
are they really the best bet here?
And just learning from shared experiences, the good and the not so good.
So where should we start? Maybe with the daily grind, the
Yep.
trading itself.
Makes sense. That daily discussion thread is ground zero. And it's interesting, they have a dedicated section for TMS, Meroshare, EDS, broker issues.
Right, trying to channel all those technical questions into one place
Hmm.
makes it easier to find help, I guess.
Suggests it's a frequent pain point for traders. And speaking of which, we saw a user today. Individual look 3457.
Ah, yes, the
Okay.
failed to sell error. Mutual funds, wasn't it?
Yeah, something about DP amount and quantity limits. They even shared the price range, their sell price, the number of units.
Which is helpful context. But it just shows, these technical hurdles are real, especially when you're starting out. The tech isn't always seamless.
No, definitely not. And it highlights why that community forum aspect is so valuable. Quick answers, shared problems.
Exactly. Now, pivoting slightly, it's good they have that beginner, go here first, link right in the daily thread.
Yeah, it shows they're trying to onboard people properly.
And that spirit carries into the portfolio reviews. We saw several experienced users giving advice.
Like who?
Users like Dixwizazaz123, Istarugino, Bray's Ad 14, Hidden Sun. A recurring theme was don't spread yourself too thin.
Ah, the diversification point. Especially with smaller capital, right? Like under a lakh.
Exactly. They were saying aim for maybe 3 to 8 stocks, or even just 2 or 3 if you're starting really small.
Because otherwise you're buying tiny amounts like 10 kita here, 10 kita there.
And the transaction costs just eat you up. Various Ad 14 made that point. Brokerage fees add up fast on small trades.
Super practical advice. Plus, how can you even track like 20 different stocks properly?
You can't, really. Not effectively. Which leads to the next point from Duxize123. Learn basic fundamental analysis first.
Before you buy anything, understand the company's health, its prospects.
Yeah, figure out what it's actually worth. It's, fundamental for long-term investing.
Looking at those reviews, hydro and banking stocks seem to come up a lot.
They do, and there was some chatter about sector rotation, the idea that maybe the hydro rally is cooling off.
And money might move into, say, development banks or investment companies.
Potentially.
Yeah,
Something to keep an eye on, those broader market shifts.
definitely. Now, on the other side of the coin, unrealized losses. We saw user Rabink share a portfolio with significant red, mainly in MBL and NUFRA.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in. But it's a reality of investing, isn't it? Not everything goes up.
For sure. But they did mention past wins too. MKLB, Shivam, EBL, so perspective.
Which is healthy. And the advice they got was interesting too. Zed Bonomalam talked about steady income, to average down costs over time.
Dollar cost averaging, basically.
Right. And Turbulent Hat 9081 emphasized being adaptable, actively managing the portfolio, not getting stuck.
That adaptability theme. It ties in really well with that other thread, the regret selling too soon one.
Yeah, that one hits close to home for a lot of people, I bet. Everyone seems to have that story.
Like online Kinar selling Roddy at 420, only to see it hit 752. Ouch.
Or Seven-Way selling NRN around 1300, then it climbed to 2000.
The list goes on. Maliball 22 with profile, temporary age 7303 with STC after taking an early loss.
Veterinarian Tricky 48 mentioned NFS, and NGPL called it perfect alto timing.
That sums it perfectly. Selling right before the rocket takes off. Gig deep with ENL too.
And Mindless Papaya 1922 had a candid one about UNL. Sold low, bought back higher, called it a dumb move.
But they made a great point. What you do with the money after selling matters just as much if you put it to work somewhere else.
Exactly. It might soften the blow a bit. And the emotional side came up too.
Right, like Turbulent Hat 9081 saying don't dwell on it, focus forward. Anxious Champion 206 echoed that don't look back.
It really shows investing is psychology as much as numbers. Managing those feelings of regret or FOMO.
So true. Okay, let's switch gears. SIPs. Systematic investment plans, always a big discussion point in Nepal.
Yeah, we saw that in the early investment ideas thread, a younger investor asking if SIPs are a good way to go.
And they got a pretty blunt response from Issarijano.
They did. Basically said, SCP sucks in Nepal. Strong words.
What was the reasoning?
They argued the high returns people flash around are often based on like specific bull run periods, and the real long-term returns might actually be quite low.
So, suggesting alternatives.
Yeah, like focusing on IPOs or finding undervalued small cap stocks or even learning active trading for shorter term stuff.
Yeah.
Basically challenging the set it and forget it idea for SIPs here.
Interesting. But there was a counterpoint, wasn't there? From Zed Banumulam.
Right. They talked about a modified SIP approach, not just buying blindly every month.
What does modified mean in this context?
It means being a bit more tactical. Buying more of your chosen stock when the price dips, and maybe buying less when it's running high, trying to average down more effectively.
So, still discipline, but with some market timing involved.
Kind of, yeah. But then Curious of 9550 raised a practical issue.
The delay.
Yeah, saying there's like a 3 or 4 day lag when they try to adjust their SIP amount through NIBL, which makes quick reactions to market trends pretty hard.
Good point. So maybe that modified SIP is more of a DIY thing.
That's what Zed Banumulam clarified. They were talking about doing it yourself with individual stocks, not through the structured SIPs for mutual funds, which have their own rules.
Okay, so it's not one size fits all. Depends on how active you want to be, your goals.
Exactly. And your tolerance for complexity, maybe?
No, we didn't see Nepse Alpha mentioned specifically today, but all this talk about analysis, tracking, finding opportunities.
It definitely points to a need, or at least a desire, for better tools.
Right.
Ways to make sense of all data and make smarter choices. Seems like a natural next step for learners.
Totally. Okay, quick detour. Odd lots. Not a main thread, but linked to that question about selling 5,000 Kita.
Right, from JChill553 over on our Nipple Street Bets. It touches on liquidity. Can you sell a big chunk easily?
And the advice was basically get a broker account, and yeah, probably, but it depends on the stock's liquidity. Are there buyers?
And the consensus seemed to be that 5,000 shares isn't huge, unless it's a really low-cap, thinly traded stock.
Yeah.
Like UNL or BNT were mentioned as examples by Kukuri and Tough Truth 69.
Good context on volume. Now another specific question. GTC GTD orders. Do yesterday's orders get priority?
That was Fitlet6268. Wanting to know if they're good till canceled or good till date order from the day before, jumps the queue over new orders at the same price.
And the general feeling was, yes, first come, first served.
That was the theory put forward by various Ad 14 and Ladder Ad 8730. It should work that way.
But
Oka Bedroom 4498 chimed in with some doubt, based on their own experience. Said their automated buys sometimes didn't go through even when they thought they were early. So maybe it's not quite that simple in practice.
Another case where the system might have its quirks. Good to be aware of.
Definitely. And finally, that query about changing account types, from normal DMAT to a foreign employment one.
Right. Bulky Cat 7179 asking for their father. Super relevant for Nepalese working abroad.
Absolutely. And the process outlined by Zarin Thripal and Keyboard Decides seemed pretty clear.
Contact the bank first, convert the bank account to a remittance account.
Yeah, often needing proof of regular remittances, like maybe 50K NPR every 6 months or something.
And then the DMAT account can be converted or linked.
Apparently, it can sometimes be done online, like with Siddhartha Bank, according to Zarin Thripal. But you might need to visit in person, too.
And you need proof, right? Like the labor permit, Shram security, and proof of the money coming in.
Seems logical. Need to verify that foreign employment status.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up for everyone listening. What are the big takeaways from this dive into our Nepal stock today, especially thinking about like daily trading and common issues?
Well, first, that online community. It's clearly a huge asset for real-time help, especially with those pesky TMS and Meroshare glitches. Don't struggle alone.
Good point. And for beginners,
The advice is pretty consistent. Focus. Learn fundamental analysis basics before you jump in. And don't buy tiny bits of too many stocks. Keep it manageable, maybe 3 to 8, to save on costs and track them better.
and that SIP debate.
It's ongoing. It's not a simple yes or no in Nepal, it seems. You need to think if it fits your strategy or if a more active or modified approach makes sense.
And learn from the regrets. Selling too soon happens. It's part of the emotional journey.
Absolutely. Plus, understanding the mechanics, how orders like GTTD are supposed to work, how to manage account types, that's all part of building your knowledge base.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Thinking about everything we've just unpacked, the strategies, the tech issues, the regrets, the advice, what's, say, one concrete thing you might change or look into. Maybe it's how you approach daily trading or how you deal with those TMS errors when they pop up.
And digging deeper, for those starting with fundamental analysis, what parts of it are most critical for understanding companies, specifically in the Nepali market context? What nuances really matter here? Something to chew on for your own investment journey.